Yo guys, I've got a spark which I'm going to use to ignite the fire for a brand new series here on the channel. Well, I shouldn't really call it brand new, considering that this series I actually originally recorded and uploaded throughout the year of 2019, but since then my subscription count, my viewer base has increased significantly, so I feel like now is the perfect opportunity for me to take these videos from this particular series, mind you, and re-upload them one by one every single day. So for the most part, these episodes are going to remain unchanged because these episodes come from a personal favourite series of mine. This series is orientated entirely around the battle classes and Skylanders Imaginators. So yes, naturally speaking, I felt like these episodes needed very little editing, apart from this one, because I just wanted to start this episode off giving a full disclosure. This is simply an older series on my channel that I've chosen to re-upload every single day for the next 20 days. That's right, for the next 3 or so weeks, you're going to be receiving a new re-uploaded episode of this series with brand new thumbnails and everything. So regardless of all that, on top of it all, you're also going to be getting the weekly series. You know, you're going to be getting Light Core Lock, Igniter Solo Run, and Falcon and Winter Soldier reviews every single week on top of that, as you normally would. So with all that being said and done, let's roll the intro and get straight into the video, mind you. How interesting would it have been to see previous Skylanders games have battle classes implemented into them? Well, that exactly is a question we're going to be working around for this brand new series of mine. Hey there guys, I'm Ignite the Fire, and welcome to the debut episode of Schooled, the series where I go back to the old Skylanders games and put all of the older Skylanders to battle classes like the Senseis and Skylanders Imaginators. Now, this series is going to be 2 weeks long and be uploaded every single day for you guys to help make school a whole lot more bearable, for its centralising theme is being schooled, hence the name. And so since school has started back up for you guys, I'm hoping that having this series uploaded for when you get back from school will make school a whole lot more bearable for you. For those who don't like it, if you do like me, then I suppose it's cherry on top of the cake. But anyways, this first video is going to be looking into each battle class and dissecting what it means to be a part of that class. So I'm basically asking the question, what determines a battle class? What characteristics does a Skylander need to be involved in that battle class? So, to help answer that question, we have all of these different senseis representing their respective battle classes, and they're going to explain to us what a Skylander needs to be determined as their battle class, mind you. And so we're going to start off with Aurora right here, representing, of course, the Swashbuckler class. Now, Swashbucklers can come in many different shapes and sizes, despite what limitations Aurora herself might offer, but that's because they can be aesthetic-based, like Bad Juju here, and simply just need a tail, perhaps. But another key characteristic of this battle class is weaponry. As you can see, Aurora here has dual swords, so every single Skylander with dual weapons will be classified as a Swashbuckler. But apart from that, there's also the moveset themselves. So any Skylander that is speed-based or flexible can also be a Swashbuckler, because Swashbucklers all seem to be flexible and speedy in some way, or at least Aurora and Bad Juju most certainly do, but sometimes they can be bulky and powerful, such as Chain Reaction. But moving on to the next class, we have Ninjas, represented by, of course, Starcast. Now, Ninjas too come in many shapes and sizes, and their weaponry is not limited to just Ninja Stars, because as you can see with Boom Balloon right here, she has a whip and is still classified as a ninja, mind you. But what ninjas are is they are sneaky, natural ninjas which use enemies' disadvantage of being unable to spot them to their advantage. So any Skylander who uses some sort of trick-based moveset or sneaks around can be classified as a ninja all the more. But the weaponry can also help, especially if there's ninja stars involved. But moving on to the next class, represented by a tri-tip, we have the Smashers. Now, Smashers aren't just about hitting their enemies, they are absolutely about pulverizing them, smashing them into the ground and showing them no mercy. what is left of an enemy when a smasher faces them is nothing. They absolutely pulverize them. And so any Skylander that is all about just going on to their enemies and giving them an absolute onslaught is what creates a smasher. And their weapons are probably the most unique because no smasher should be bogged down by their weapon. They can come in many shapes and forms, like axes, maces, swords, all of that stuff. But speaking of swords, there is the ninja class, knight class even, represented by Ambush. Now, knights don't only need swords, they can have other weaponry of the sort, but a main thing that distinguishes a knight from all the other classes is their personality. They are honourable and noble beings, which speak of honour and dignity during battle. And as long as they have nobility within their personality traits, then they can be considered a knight. But as I was saying before, the sword does most certainly help. But as for our next battle class, we have quick shots, represented by Tidepool. So basically, quick shots are all about firing off weapons at a incredible speed with pinpoint accuracy. So basically, any Skylander who can fire off fast beams and fire them accurately can be classified as a quick shot. It doesn't necessarily have to be two guns in particular, but quick shots also have a personality of that of being either quite cocky and arrogant, or maybe even crazy and loud. Crazy and loud, that's what I was trying to say. I was about to say uptight, but that wouldn't make much sense. But yeah, personality and skills to pay the bills is what makes a quick shot. But moving on to the next class, which is Brawler, represented by Kingpin. Brawlers are all about trapping their enemies into combos that they can use to defeat their enemy faster than what the enemy has time to land a hit on them. Any Skylander that gets up close and personal with their enemy without needing to absolutely pulverize them and instead focuses on combo and skill can be classified as a Brawler instead of a Smasher, because the two classes have similarities in that regard. But next up, we have, of course, Sorcerer class, represented by Mr. Cat. Basically, Sorcerers normally use other characters even to do their own bidding. So anyone who summons anything of any fashion, whether that's little mini allies to help them out of the battlefield, can be classified as a sorcerer, but for the most part their weaponry involves staffs which allow them to bring down beams upon their enemies of some fashion or another. But sometimes they could be guns. As long as they have some sort of beam based ability, then it's sorcerer based, because they're using magic and other people to do their bidding, you could say, but yet they are still very powerful. Then the next class is the Sentinel class. Now, just like the Swashbucklers, Sentinels tend to be very agile and flexible. Take Barbella, for instance, who is much more of a rock-based figure. You wouldn't expect her to be as flexible as she is, and yet there you are. So any Skylander that not only has a dual-ended weapon, but is also flexible and agile in their moveset, can be classified as a Sentinel. But their aesthetics are much different to the previously mentioned Swashbuckler, so that's really what distinguishes the two mostly, because Sentinels have no limitation to their aesthetics, whereas Swashbucklers tend to have the tails, as I was saying about before. But then moving it on to our last two battle classes, right here we have the Bowslinger class, represented by Buckshot. Now, what determines this class first and foremost is for weaponry. Any sort of bow-based weapon, so crossbows, slingshots, bow and arrows, anything like that is basically what distinguishes this class. But apart from that, they don't really have any defining personality traits, but they are incredibly accurate with their firing skills, just like quick shots. However, if they don't need to fire as quickly, because they're centralized more around range and skill. But for our last battle class, we have bazookas, represented by, of course, Flarewolf. Now, bazookas use giant weaponry to absolutely pulverize their enemies. So rather than getting up close and personal like Smashers do, instead they keep their distance and fire off explosive shells towards enemies to not only create quite the fireworks show in most of these cases, but also to have fun blasting at enemies from a distance, or pulverizing them from a distance, you could even say. Characters like Flare will, of course, have a very loud and crazy personality, kind of like Quick Shots in that regard. But overall, their distinguishing feature is definitely that giant weapon that they will tend to have, and the fact that they tend to work with explosives for the most part, because weapons like that fire off explosive shells and stuff. But the point is, that there solidifies what determines a battle class. We've gone through all 10, and so for the next 10 episodes, we're going to be looking at each battle class respectively, seeing which Skylanders would fit into that battle class and why.